listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no human being I'd rather talk to right now than Blake Treinen. So thank you.
Yeah, likewise for you.
Oh,
yeah.
See, that's the first time that anyone's ever said that. But I appreciated talking to you and having you on at Joe Kelly's house. It was a good time. It was a memorable time for me, honestly. And it wasn't just because of the great Yamamoto stories.
Oh yeah.
It was golfing. Yeah. But it was also just because the before, the during, the after. Mm-hmm. It was good, man. I don't know for you if talking pitching like that is a thing, but
it's probably the worst night of my life.
That's fair.
It was really boring. I don't know. No, it was good. I actually I got to meet you for the first time, and I'd briefly run across Rob in the past via some interviews, and then even Michael Fisher being there. I worked with him for a little bit back when I was in Oakland. So seeing some familiar faces, then meeting new faces like yourself, and I think your producer maybe was there too, or
just me.
They had the producers. Yeah. So all around it was just kind of a fun.
There's a lot of people
evening,
flying. We had bottles of wine from Japan. We had javelins.
Did he bring a javelin in?
Rob brought the javelin in. Yeah.
They had big old New York style pizza, two of them, I think.
Well, that was my only contribution to the whole thing.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
But I sincerely did love hearing all you guys talk pitching, and I don't know what I can add, but it's sort of that was in spring training, and so now it's a good time to sort of sit here and reflect on, okay, has 2024 pitching evolved like you thought? And congratulations for everything you've done. But for you, when you have seen how pitching has evolved, and obviously the sweeper is a big thing. Mm-hmm. The two biggest things, Blake, is sweeper injuries. Those are the two biggest conversations, right?
Yeah, I think. If you had more to add, I think there's a lot of contributing factors to the injuries in pitchers. I don't know if you can deliberately say sweeper. I think there's probably a right and a wrong way to throw it. I think you can throw it and rip it as hard as you want, and get the results which you're seeing in baseball. Everybody's got gross stuff now. But if you're not throwing it the right way, you're probably adding a lot of tension. You're not staying within your what I would call a cylinder. When you establish this lane right here with your arm. Mm-hmm. If you're casting out, you're going to add extra pressure to your elbow. So, some guys have elite numbers, but is it sustainable? That's the scary part and the sad part about the sport is we deal a lot with performance and trying to be the next person to have the next shiny new toy. We fall in love with numbers too much, I believe, and guys are chasing numbers versus results sometimes. And
numbers, when you say numbers,
like StatCast numbers and
measurable,
TrackMan,
measurable numbers. Yeah.
It's my slider was at 2,700, broke 20 lateral, and was at 86. Cool. Was it a strike?
Yeah.
Cool. Does it tunnel off your stuff? Are you chasing a pitch that isn't conducive to your arm slot? There's a lot of things out there that are interesting. I believe the pitch clock has a lot to do with it too. People can call me crazy. I don't think you can write it off. I can't say 100% that it is, but I would challenge people to understand that we are giving max effort towards the plate 10 to 15 to sometimes 20 times an inning, and we have 15 seconds between each pitch. Now, I know there's a lot of variables involved with this analogy, but have a position player line up on the line and do 20, 15-yard sprints or 60 feet sprints or whatever for the argument. See how many times they can do that with the up, down, over the course of 160 days, 170 days, and how many more leg injuries would you possibly see, hamstrings? To say, for me, I'm sure the league is optimistic, so they maybe misspoke, and I hope they misspoke in this, but to throw it out the window that the pitch clock has nothing to do, I think is very irresponsible and kind of negligent, if you will. Pitching is not a natural motion, so the rest, anybody in the training field knows that there's a direct correlation between rest, output, and injuries that correlate if you don't have a rest period. So I think a lot of it, there is something to do with the pitch clock. I'm not saying to get rid of it completely. I think there just needs to be some tweaks. I think pitchers should be allowed to pick over as many times as they want, as long as they're picking. Not disengaging just to disengage, but to pick over. I came up. I'm not necessarily the quickest guy to the plate. Another thing to think about is when you have guys on base, it's a higher strain situation. That's normal. I'm not upset about that. It's part of the game. You enjoy it. You embrace it. But if I'm not allowed to long hold, pitch, come set pitch, long hold, step off, long hold, pick, these things that control the game because I don't necessarily have the most dialed in slide step. Now you're forcing me to have to slide step, which is fine. I'm going to have to adapt, but at the same time, you're just forcing people straight into it.
Right.
With 2 different rule changes that we haven't even established one to see how it correlates over the course of a few seasons. I personally wish baseball would take time to evaluate the rule changes longer, and maybe let's try an off season without changing a rule. I mean, since I've come up, maybe 1 year we've had not a rule change, and I've been in the league now for 11 years.
Well, the knocking off the 2 seconds was like, that almost seemed like,
what's the point?
Doing it for the sake of, hey, you know what, we're going to keep this momentum going and changing the rules.
Yeah, it's like, I'm scared to say, like, where's the game going to be when my kid's, old enough to really start playing. I'm not going to be able to teach them the same game that I grew up loving. I love competing. There's a lot about the game I still love, but the rule changes, it's stressful. It makes you scratch your head, and it's just not. The rule book has got to be completely rewritten at this point, in my opinion. I mean, the fact that we've got a higher percentage of people stealing 50, 70 plus bags when in the years past it hasn't necessarily been that way. I mean, there is a correlation to the rules that they've changed, and if that's the brand of baseball they want, then sure. But you want more stolen bases, maybe incentivize stolen bases in arbitration, or incentivize stolen bases in free agent market. I don't think stolen bases are incentivized enough.
What is the thing of all these things that you mentioned? And I'm glad you brought up the pitch clock when you talk about power ranking the injury thing.
Yeah.
Kenley, because we had Kenley on.
Yeah.
That was his number 1 too, and he had a great analogy.
And he's historically really slow. I've been on the slower side of things in the past. Since I've been in LA, I like to think maybe I've been a little quicker, but I'm not necessarily get the ball throw right away. Like, I want to get up there, set my internal cues on like what to do to execute a pitch. So I get it. It's been a definite change for me though. Like it's taken some work.
Yeah. His analogy was lifting weights. Like,
yeah.
You don't run around lifting weights, right?
Yep.
You need time to recover, and that made sense to me too.
Well, yeah, like hit workouts are a thing, right? But like. It's different. Like those are semi-natural movements. This isn't natural, over the top.
No.
So nobody walks around like this, swinging their arms.
You mentioned rules. So if you're commissioner of baseball, there it is. Here's the commissioner of baseball. First thing you change.
I don't know. There's
too many.
I will say the 2 things that I like.
Yeah.
I like that there's universal DH, and I like that every team plays each other. Those are the 2 rules that I think are phenomenal. The pitch clock thing. I don't know. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's got to change. And I think the 1 rule is you should be able to pick over as many times as you need to, as long as you're throwing, because it's active. The ball's in play. Anything can happen. I still have to make a good throw over there. I'd have to think about that before I just misspeak around the fly here.
That's all good. So, well, you're going to be the next one to interview the commissioner. We had Joe sit down for 45 minutes to do it because I transcribed the tape.
Yeah.
And like every player should be. I know the commissioner comes around, but every player should get like. You would be my representative this year to sit down. If you want to do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I also want to ask the question about the Pelican rock on the back of the mound, because a few years ago Pelican was banned and not a substance that we were allowed to use, but now baseball is using it with an MLB logo stamped on the back of it behind the rubber.
Explain that.
That's for another time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're not going to dig deep into it.
Is that the rock?
Yeah, there's a Pelican rock rosin now, so it's interesting that was the same product that was banned in what liquid form or whatever. So
I'm going to look into it.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned unnatural movements. I just did. We had a conversation with Daniel Bard yesterday about velocity, because when he came up, he was like throwing 100, right?
Yeah, one of 5 or 8 in the league. Yeah.
And so I really wanted to talk to him about, especially with the skiing stuff that's going on now, where you have this guy who comes up and he's throwing 100, twice as much as everybody can bond. I mean, good for him, right?
Yeah.
But this is the epitome of this is this is the poster boy for
It's eye candy, right?
eye candy. Like, yeah.
Now, to his defense, is he's got really good stuff aside from it. But there's so many people that are chasing velocity without making it like good. So some guys can throw 100 now, but is it missing barrels? You know, then some guys are throwing 93 and it's completely missing barrels.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like, velocity in this league, it doesn't really matter anymore, in my opinion. I'm a guy that's, like, honestly been blessed by velocity in my career. And, but I as I'm watching, it's like Teoscar Hernandez hit a home run on a 2-strike count, right center field on 101. So it's like velocity doesn't matter like it used to, because it's a dime a dozen. I mean, every organization probably has 15 guys that can hit 100 now.
Yeah.
That aren't even in the big leagues. So,
but still, people chase it because it's the feather in the cap, right?
Yeah.
It's But another thing we had mentioned was, you know, you're chasing a couple things. You're chasing velocity and chasing spin rate, like the other measurables that everyone's chasing something.
Yeah, I think because the game's put emphasis on jobs being maintained through pitch characteristics as opposed to performance, and like if you're not performing, then how can you maintain a job? And it's let me spin the curveball at 3,000 RPMs, or you know, have a four-seamer that's 2,700 RPMs, you know, that has ride and stuff. So finding the intangible, like trying to quantify why certain pitches do certain things, and then people chasing it because it lengthens some careers.
Yeah, and then they can say, we know this is proof.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Always
no worries,
good,
man.
All right, thanks, man. We'll get the commissioner.
Yeah, baseball's not boring. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.